Hello precious subs, old and new. I'm sure you all have a lot more important things to do than watch me a couple of days before Christmas, just like me, who still has to decorate her cake and finish off her Christmas tree. But I have some really important news, and I have to just focus, even though a certain person is stalking me again, and that may have to come in another video, because I have been in YouTube prison again and am over my third strike. I don't even know how I'm here. But as it happened last time that I finally got out of prison, you know, boom, the next next two videos, they just took me out again. So I just pray I don't say anything wrong today, because the Lord has shown me some amazing things today. And the second video, because it's important, I think a lot of people, a lot of you Christians in the States who know Paul Begley might be a little bit confused when you see him now going on the Leak Project and, you know, showing you things on his channel, you know, that are totally against everything that you believe in, and especially after the dream that Rhonda recently had of him with the triangle telephone that he was really afraid of answering. You know, I'm sure a lot of people might be afraid because, you know, he's not actually saying what Rex Bear is saying. He's not making any commentary on them. He's just titling this video the Antichrist armies arising. So it's, you know, the simple case of, you know, these people talking out of both sides of their mouths. But I will do a video on that, and also about, you know, who's stalking me again, just to show you, because just as it says in Margaret MacDonald, you know, there's a lot of people who believe when they see somebody has a prophetic dream and it comes true, they will then just think, oh, you know, that person belongs to the Lord. Look, you know, this has come true. But of course, as it says, you know, Margaret MacDonald makes quite clear, and we all know that where there is the true prophecy, there's also the false. And here she says in here, for it is, I frequently said that night and often since, now shall the awful sight of a false Christ be seen on this earth, and nothing but the living Christ in us can detect this awful attempt of the enemy to deceive us. For it is with all deceivableness of unrighteousness he will work. He will have a counterpart for every part of God's truth, and an imitation for every work of the Spirit. Well, we're really at the top of the cliff, and what the Lord has shown to me today is amazing. So I'll try not to waffle on, but I just don't know where to start. Okay, so we'll start. I also found this, which was Clement's prophecy, and many of you know that I keep bleating on about Revelation 9 and 20. Well, I found this prophecy in one of my old drawers, and because it talks about the certain prophets, and there's only, I don't know who there is, I think it's only me that I know of, that I keep talking about this particular prophecy. So this is Clement, and he says, they have said, the book of Revelation shall be understood by teachers, but God said they will teach. But the apostles and the prophets shall take the words out of Revelation 4, Revelation 9, Revelation 12 and 20. God says, listen, I will give you the truths that have been revealed this day. The kingdoms of the world shall become the kingdoms of our God and his Christ. Okay, so you all know that that's, well, that's not that what this one's about, but that my signs that I have shown you, but specifically the ones that talk about Abaddon in Revelation 9 and 20, where the teachers have said that that's the Antichrist opening the pit, but I have shown you, no, that is Trump Apollo, that is Jesus returned, and he opens the pit and kills only those without the mark of God on them. And he throws Satan into the pit. Okay, so it's not Satan. So I'm the only one saying this. I'm the only one. No matter how hard I try and wake them up with it, they will not touch it with a barge pole. But I'll leave that till the end, because what the Lord has shown me today, because also these other prophecies that Kim has said, the other Revelation 4 and Revelation 12, they of course relate to the signs that I've shown you. Number one, the Shekinah glory cloud that I filmed in October 2012, and also the Sirius sign of the Son of Man, which I filmed at the time of Trump's election, which I believe relates to what I'm talking about today, which is the Hopi prophecy. So the Hopi prophecy that I heard today, I just couldn't believe it. It's quite hard to hear, but the guy goes into a lot of detail, but it reminded me of something that a prophet in South Africa on Trey Smith said, and when I heard it, I thought, how's that possible? It also relates to George Washington's vision, and so please, have pity upon me if you know what it's like wading through. But praise God, he just showed me the video of trays to open, because wading through a Trey Smith video is hell on earth. 2 hours and 54 this one was, but so I'm just going to start off with him, even though it's not in sequence, and I'll just show you what this guy says when he talks about Germany becoming the world power. Okay, so bear with me. I have got some amazing information for you today. So I can't quite tell you his name. There's his photograph, and because they're so long, you daren't go back. So I'll just play you what he says.
1918. He predicts the emergence of the European Economic Union. April the 4th, 1919. In Europe, I see 3 sickles merge into one. I see the wagons rolling in from north to east. They look like Turkish wagons, but they are new and covered in canvas. Wagons rolling always indicated war. June the 8th, 1919. In Europe, I see 3 troughs filled with dry grass. A Turk sets them on fire. The fire burns fiercely, then it suddenly dies. In 1991, Saddam Hussein attacked 3 countries, Israel, Saudi Arabia, and Kuwait.
So it was Israel, Saudi Arabia, and it's quite hard.
Set fire to the oil wells. The fires burned fiercely, but were eventually brought under control. The scene then speaks of another war to come. A war in which Russia slides back into communism.
So Russia slides back into communism.
And joins China and the Middle East to fight against America and Germany.
To fight against America and Germany. Well, we know that, so they say that Russia is with China. I don't know about them being communist, but...
The war is won by the West, with Germany becoming the leading...
Okay, the war is won by the West, with Germany becoming the leading...
economic nation on earth. England is all but destroyed in this fight.
Okay, English... Okay. I will just show you this as well. Northrop has released new pictures.
I see a great war, fast and furious. It will be fought mostly from the skies. I see weapons that we have not even dreamt of. Germs will cause sickness and electric rays.
So germs will cause sickness and electric rays that devastate the earth. They'll be coming from the towers.
So here behind me, here is the...
Okay, so this is on the Day of Reckoning, the Q, okay, of Trey Smith, so you can look that up. And now I'm just going to take you to the Hopi prophecy. Take you back a little wee bit. Okay, so I want to show you the cross here. See, this cross here he actually sort of moves over this quickly. We all know what that cross means, and although I don't think he really points it out, he is actually showing this is where the cross makes is a demarcation where the worlds change, and this is, I believe, the false church, and the one that's been made by the Masons and is followed by the stalker. But this is where I believe what is happening now, because some of you may remember a video that I did about Albert Pike, you know, the Albert Pike, the 33-degree Mason, and who predicted the wars and the last, and you know, predicted them exactly how they would come out, because of course it wasn't a prediction, it was these powers that made it happen that way. And in the last one he talks about that the Christians, those that will be so confused by everything that they are shown that they won't know who to worship, and that's what we are now. So that's why I'm concerned about Paul Begley taking all his Christians to Leak Project, and as we know, Leak Project goes down every and I'm not calling it New Age in a bad way, because I'm believing this is the age, this is the enlightenment that we're coming in, and putting everybody into the New Age thing has just been another fear tactic of the Illuminati to keep you from the true worship of God, you know, and which is not this cross, the way that we have been taught. So I just want you to listen. I hope you're still with me. Here he goes.
That will be the supreme punishment. Because right in daylight, right in public, they're going to weed out those bad people, and they're going to chop their heads off.
Okay, so he's talking about the bad people who are going to have their heads chopped off. Hopefully I can get captions. Okay.
They said, and that is what they said will happen. That's first punishment. Then they say, what about these people here? And he will look at them and say, well, at least they make an attempt to help us. They did try to do something for us to help us, protect us. And they will pull out all those people. They will know you can't get away. They said they'll have some means of catching you. And they will bring those people, there'll be a lot of those people. Then they will say, look, you have disturbed this land, life.
Okay, so where do we start here? He starts, okay, so here he talks about...
Because they will be very intelligent people.
He starts talking about the country that has these symbols as their national symbol, so you know who that is.
They're going to produce many inventions of all types.
Okay, they're going to produce many inventions of all types.
They're going to be so powerful.
They're going to be so powerful.
That they're going to use that to shake us up real.
That they can use that to shake us up real hard. Okay, now...
Hard. And they're going to almost destroy themselves.
And they're going to almost destroy themselves.
But later, out of a new generation is going to rise.
But later, out of a new generation is going to rise.
This time they will know what to do.
This time they will know what to do in the right manner.
For the right purpose. And around it, the sun symbol. Those people are very intelligent people that have that symbol. They have produced many things, invented many things. And they become powerful. And they also shake us up second time.
Okay.
With the help of another.
So they shake us up 2 times. And I mean the second time with the help of another.
These two have shook us up 2 times real hard. Warning us. And they almost destroy themselves. But out of it, a new generation is coming. Stronger, much better equipment, everything, powerful things going to be developed by these 2 people. Then the third one that will finally...
Okay, you see the other, there's the other German symbol.
bring about purification of this land in this continent would be a man with red cap, red hat.
Okay, would be a man with a red cap, a red hat. Sound like anyone you know?
Or red cloak. Now we do not know who that nation is or what people, but they say those people will have a large population and they will also have much scientific inventions of all types. Very powerful nation going to be. So once he start moving, these others too will join him with all their power and might. The three of them going to come here quickly together, and nothing can stop them. This time they're going to come right here. They say even they're going to come here so fast they come here for breakfast. Now this is nice clear day today, calm, everything nice. Tomorrow morning maybe we get up at breakfast time, then the whole sky will be darkened. The old man said, I don't know what will cause it darkening of the sky. Then he said people will be raining from the sky. And in one day they're going to get control of this whole continent.
Okay, so did you get that? The whole sky is going to go dark. Then they're going to be raining down from the sky. So how many of you remember George Washington's vision? Okay, here we go. This is the last part of that. Oh, golly. The third and most fearful peril. Okay, can you see that whole thing there? Okay. Again, I heard the mysterious voice saying, Son of the Republic, look and learn. At this, the dark shadowy angel placed a trumpet to his mouth and blew 3 distinct blasts, and taking water from the ocean, he sprinkled it upon Europe, Asia, and Africa. Then my eyes beheld a fearful scene. From each of these continents arose thick black clouds that were soon joined into one, and throughout this mass there gleamed a dark red light, by which I saw hordes of armed men. These men, moving with the cloud, marched by land and sailed by sea to America, which country was enveloped in the volume of cloud. And I dimly saw these vast armies devastate the whole country and the villages, towns and cities which I had seen springing up. Okay, so this is the city springing up after, it talks about here, a third time I heard the mysterious voice saying, Son of the Republic, look and learn. I cast my eyes upon America and beheld villages and towns and cities springing up one after another until the whole land from the Atlantic to the Pacific was dotted with them. And then it says, and this time the dark shadowy angel turned his face southward. From Africa I saw an ill-omened spectre approach our land. It flitted slowly and heavily over every town and city of the latter. The inhabitants presently set themselves in battle array against each other. Okay, now a lot of people, Trey especially, interpreted this as the Civil War, okay, and that the black cloud coming from Africa was the slavers, you know, and the slavery. But here it says, it talks about it flitted slowly and heavily over every town and city of the latter. The inhabitants presently set themselves in battle array against each other. I wish I could show you more of that Trey video, but he's just too hard to negotiate, so please go and look for it yourself. It is amazing. It's the saddest video I've ever seen in my life. Well, yeah, no, it really is. What they're doing to the South African people there is unbelievable. It's horrendous, and nobody in the world is doing a damn thing about it. And they're just starving the white South Africans, and you know, the blacks there are being raised up, and the exact same thing. You know, these people are armed. These people are, it's just Barack Obama came to New Zealand. All around the world, the same thing has been happening, where the Black Lives Matter, the spectre of Marxism and communism, that stealth bomber, if some of you remember the dream that I had about Jacinda 4 years ago, at least, I think it was, when I woke up and saw this white stealth bomber overhead, and I was just shocked because I realised, it was way up, just close, and and just the whole realisation that my life was now controlled by a petulant child, and that's exactly what she is. And the white stealth being, that she protects white being innocent and all the rest of it, but is a stealth bomber. Comes in, takes over the universities, takes over all the learning and everything, and just poisons and sets the people in war against each other. And so this is where America is at. So who knows how far we've got to go, but when I show you the rest of that, little bits of what happened in Germany, this is God's righteous judgment being poured out. And until you know what you did, because you have no idea what you did, and you have no idea the significance of the words when the Lord told me something huge is going to happen on Monday. And this was the Monday after Trump was elected, when Kerry went down to Antarctica, because that is where the Germans are. That is where Admiral Byrd went. Admiral Byrd went down there and he got whipped. He went down with I don't know how many thousands. Just look it up. That one's called Operation Paperclip, I think. Look that up. And and he said then these planes that they've got can go from one side of the earth to another in a split second, and so you're going to be powerless. And that's what that Hopi Indian is talking about. When you realise that Hitler did what he did only because he was forced to by the USA and by England, and that's why England's going to be absolutely smattered, because they've been behind the whole lot, and Hitler bent over backwards to try and offer peace to the world, and the millions and millions and millions of people that were destroyed because of Winston Churchill's pride and arrogance. Two of my great uncles included, and the starvation. I can't talk about it anymore. I'll just carry on, okay? I hope you're with me. This is a really important one. So the inhabitants presently set themselves in battle array against each other. You'll all know that that's true. As I continued looking, I saw a bright angel on whose brow rested a crown of light, on which was traced the word Union. He was bearing the American flag. He placed the flag between the divided nation and said, "Remember, ye are brethren." Instantly the inhabitants, casting down their weapons, became friends once more and united under the national standard. Okay, so they've said probably the Civil War. I'm saying no, it's now. And what is happening with the 17th letter and Trump is what this is all about.